You're listening to the Failed Musician Podcast, hosted by me, 444. Welcome to the 444 Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony, or Free, or 444, or Tony, or Bronco, whatever you want to call me. It doesn't matter. I want to talk about a bunch of different things with music. Primarily music and primarily nonsense. So I never really did a podcast before where I just kind of talk. I did one episode and it's me just like showing different parts to one of my songs, which I'm going to do stuff like that too. But so to start, I'm just going to talk about different music things, music business. I haven't made much money, if you can't tell. We got a hole in the ceiling back here. Got acoustic panels on the ground behind me. It's hard to get people to listen to your music. It is not easy whatsoever. I've been trying every day, almost nonstop, since I was like 16, and I'm 29. I can count probably how many like compliments I've had on my original music, honestly. Not that I do it for compliments or anything, but at a certain point it feels like, yo, why am I still doing this? Because I don't know, I just kind of put my head down and didn't really worry about anything, and I just kept making music and putting it out, hoping that someone would listen. But I want to do this because like it is so like I said, it's so difficult to get anyone to check out your stuff. And so like I totally know where you're coming from if you're a musician. It is rough. And it's hard to see other people getting so much, like getting people listening to their music. That's why we do this. We want people to hear our music. It's not, I don't really think there's many other reasons. I'm not entirely sure where to start. I'm going to do some episodes on like strictly like guitar, some strictly on recording. I'll mix it up. As I go, I'll figure it out, I'm sure. But to start, I guess we'll talk about songwriting. That's one thing I'm confident in. Like I can write music. I remember when it was extremely hard and I couldn't really get any songs out. So I decided that I had to keep... Well, I was in a band growing up. I was in a bunch of bands in like middle school, elementary school, just like growing up. I'd write songs nonstop and like tell everyone what to do like a dictator. And they were terrible. Like they weren't good songs at all. So I wound up getting into John Mayer and deciding that like I needed to play that good up to that like par before I could start writing an actual song. So that didn't really work for me as I never got that good. Obviously, he's incredible. So I got to a certain point where I learned a couple of his songs, and I learned all these different chords from him. As soon as I learned like a bunch of John Mayer songs, that's pretty much like when my songwriting started. I was practicing guitar like 8 hours a day, that kind of thing, just like crazy. 6 hours, not 8, 6. And then that lasted for a couple years. And I was always practicing, definitely more than a couple. I know I said that. The 6 hours a day was only a couple years, but other than that, I was always writing, whatever. So in order to write, what you need to do is you need to find the fine line between almost consciousness and like the subconscious. Like you have to listen to what's going on around you in the real world, but you also have to not let the world know that you're listening. So what I mean is someone like says something, if you're like in an argument with someone, okay, you have to be able to live while listening. So you can't just like get in an argument with someone and like say and think in your head as a songwriter, which I'm sure a lot of people do, because as a songwriter or a musician or someone that like creates stuff, you're crazy, you're nuts. It's like they use this stuff as ammunition. So like if you're in a fight with someone, you're like, oh man, like I'm gonna use this in a song, and they say something horrible, you're like, yo, I'm gonna use those lyrics. You can't live your life like that. You have to you have to let stuff manifest naturally. You need to live naturally, and you don't have to automatically steal something. Like you don't have to, like if a lyric pops in your head or something, you don't have to write it down immediately. You have to be able to know. I remember Bruce Springsteen said something like this in an interview where like a great song, like you won't forget. Like it'll be there. It'll still be there later. It'll just come back, and I totally believe that. I don't think you can really lose a great song. I think it'll just change. I know U2 said that they would pull songs over from the other side. And that's almost how this works. Like when you get a song, when you're about to write a song, you have to believe that it exists already. So this is really hard to put into words. So back to that, the Bruce Springsteen thing. What Bob Dylan said was that you have to do it immediately or you'll lose it forever. Okay? So they're both true to an extent. But like you can write a song whenever. As soon as it's like it's a craft. Whenever you get that craft, you can crank out songs like it's nothing. But like a good song, not to say great, like I've ever written like a great song, but like a good song that is a song is its own thing. You'll be able to notice when something triggers that, like a moment in your life. It's not necessarily like, oh, someone died, it's time for a hit. But you'll hear something and you won't have to remember it. It'll exist in you and it'll hit you, and then you can write that down. You're probably not going to forget it. Like I know when I wrote a song called Montana, I had that hit me, it like hit you. And it wasn't the song hit me, it was just like the word, and I knew like, oh, I have to write a song about this. And for my first couple albums, that was a thing. There was a lot of waiting. Now my process is different. I had to switch things up because when I got really sick, I couldn't go. Just a couple years ago, I got sick and it affected everything, breathing and all that stuff, which everyone has issues. So, but it hit me bad and I couldn't go deep. I couldn't think deep and go to like that spiritual place because I think I might have abused it. Not even abused it, just I did it way too much. And then I got sick and it was like my nervous system just couldn't handle it. Like as soon as I was finished, I get like crazy dizzy, breathing issues, all kinds of weird stuff that sounds like anxiety, but there was definitely a whole physical aspect to it. So now I try to write quickly and I try to just barely touch. I try to like, it's almost like there's something in hot lava and I have to grab it out as quick as possible before it hurts me. That's how I work now. Whereas before I was able to just like go in really deep and like pray. And I still pray all the time and stuff like that for songs and to make choices. But now it's more the craft. It's not so much depending on the Spirit. Where I am depending on the Spirit, but I feel like the Spirit leads you to a part where you don't have to like, it doesn't have to work for you as much. Like at first I really had to listen and take in, like I really had to craft the song and wait for the right moments and wait for the songs to come into my life. Where now I feel like I've been trained through that process that you can just, that you know the songs are there, you know they're on the other side. Songwriting seems so open-ended, especially like when you, before you know like what you're doing. And it is open-ended. Like there's an infinite amount of possibilities of sound, of instruments, and people go crazy like when they're recording trying to pick different sounds, trying to change lyrics around and stuff like that. And you kind of have to train yourself to pick the right part at the right time with the least amount of trying as possible. Like people say, oh, like music's instinct. Like I used to believe that. Like in the improvisation, you can find, you can chisel out what you need. Okay, so like people just want to like jam and make an album, and you can jam, but you have to be listening. Like you'll stumble upon something. Like there's all these different methods to write songs, but there's a huge spiritual aspect to it. Okay, there's also like a very dark part of songwriting that I feel like I was lucky to escape from. Like there's two things you can write from. There's like I'm pretty sure there's like, I think Bob Dylan says something like that. It's like there's like good songs and there's evil songs. And I mean, I want to write good songs. There's a lot of evil songs. I feel like it's easy to make something like that. And if you just think of how much a song can like affect your mood, they're really powerful. It's like you have to be responsible with that gift, because it is a craft. Like I think anyone can do it, but it's just like anything. You have to be responsible with your words. And I have a lot of like goofy songs that, I mean, some of my lyrics are out there, but a lot of them are just, it's just to be like funny. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I do have, I don't know, most of my songs are coming from a good place. I think all of them are. All my songs, 100% all my songs are coming from a good place. But like there's songs that get into like violence and like I hate someone, like stuff like that, and like it's really not good, and it will kill you and eat you up, and you don't want to work from that place for sure. So training yourself to get to a point where you can just pick out like the best melody, the right lyrics quickly. It just happens. Like it's not something you can do, but you have to tune. What is it, like your intuition? Like you have to like train it to, if you can train it. It's just being conscious of it. If you can be conscious of how it feels when you get the right lyrics, when you feel like it really clicks, or it feels when you get the right melody when you're singing over your music, or you like it clicks when you play guitar. Once you get those feelings, I think you can kind of turn anything into a good song, into like a real song. Because you know how to craft it. Like it's really hard to explain. I never realized it. If you're having trouble understanding this, then you just want to go back to the basics. So, like I'm a Christian. If that's not obvious with a lot of my music, you have to. I pray, like literally. I feel like I depend on God to like do everything. When I start recording, I'll like stop and like listen and try to hear, and I'll feel like it'll like click in me like what I need to do. I relied on that big time for like my first couple albums, where I feel like every little decision I was like, God, what should I do? Should I raise the volume a little? Should I put it down? To the point where it almost seems psychotic. But it works. But it's not just all spiritual. Like, you need to raise the like your skill, like the physical aspect, so like the spirit can like meet you. And a lot of people say that. And Christian or not, you can believe in God or not, but that's what happens when you write music. I mean, that like the inspiration from out there hits you, you're physical, and you put it out. It's not really like, you can kind of tell when someone's just like, oh man, I got some ice cream or something, like it's just real contrived and artificial. It's not easy to write songs at first. You have to like learn all the parts. What do you got? Like, I mean, I listen to like a lot of prog music, like Genesis and stuff like that, trying to, I don't know, learn different parts of songs. John Mayer was like the basic thing though for me, where I really loved his song form. He has great song form, and it was really cool learning, like just learning his songs and being able to play them straight through. Really helped learning those different chords that he uses. He uses all kinds of wacky like jazz chords, which, I mean, you don't really see a lot of people using them in regular rock music. So, if I was starting over, what I would do is I wouldn't worry about writing. I'd keep it in the back of my head. It's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm trying to draw comic books, and I can't just make a comic book. I can just make a comic, but it'll be crappy. So it was the same when I did music. Like, I was able to play guitar and just write songs, but the songs weren't anything special. They had no meaning. They had no focus. So what I want to have to do with drawing is like just keep practicing drawing, and eventually you'll be able to meet the spirit. You'll be able to meet the inspiration, and then like you can actually make progress. But up until you get to that point, it's hard, and it doesn't take long. It took me very long to get decent at guitar. I'm just like a slow learner. Some people, I know people that have been playing like 3 years and then they can just shred. It's insane. And I was not like that. I still can't shred. I know like 2 scales, and that's not even a lie. It's not a lie. It's disgusting. I know what. This one, if you're a guitar player, that major scale or minor, I don't even know. I think it's major. And then the minor pentatonic. I don't think I really know any other scales, which is pathetic. I saw a James Taylor quote. Saw him say something the other day where basically you hear a song you like and you try to rewrite it, except you use the different lyrics and different melody and different music. And that is literally that's another method that's great. Like I hear it happens all the time. Well, I'll hear a song and it gives me this feeling, and I just want to like spit that song back out like in my own way. And I have a couple songs that are like straight up rip-offs of other people. Alex G, I have a few. Guided by Voices, I have a few. But for the most part, I do like I do my own thing. Even the ones that are rip-offs are my own. I try to make them my own. But yeah, so like John Mayer said that too. Like he'll hear a song and be like, "Oh, I want one of those." And then he'll go and write that song. A similar song. And it always comes out original, if you're being honest. You can't be dishonest when you write. That's like the number one thing. You have to lay it all out, always. You can't hide from like your soul and what your soul wants to sing. My uncle always told me that playing guitar, the whole point of it was to like make as much beauty with the instrument as possible, which I never really thought about until recently, until he passed away. And it's true with songwriting as well, I think, 100%. I mean, there's a lot of negativity in the world, and why add to that, you know? So, I mean, you can express anger, you can express sadness, express whatever you want, but just know that like the best thing to do, 100%, is to put out positivity and to help someone else, because like what I have is a gift that I can write a song and put it out there. And it is therapeutic. I don't think about it like that. I never have. Like, oh, this is just my therapy. I always thought I was some like songwriting master and this was like my calling and I had to do it. And like everything was at stake if I didn't do it. Like nothing would mean anything. And I still think that. I think a lot of people that make music, they feel the same exact way. It's just honest. I know I'm not. You know what I mean? As you get older, you know you're not meaningless. You're here to do the work that you're meant to do. You're here to impact certain people, to help certain people with your gift, even if you don't know it. So when that time comes, it'll happen and you'll help those people. And I think that's what life's about. You know, we're here to help each other because the world is really rough and fallen, for sure. You don't want to quit songwriting. You don't want to think it's too hard. You just got to keep working at it, and you'll get there 100%. The majority of my life was felt like I would never get there to where I could write songs. I never thought I'd be able to write songs that I felt were legitimate songs. Like it would only take me an hour. I didn't think that was possible. Um, like when I write, um, for a while I was writing the song all the way through, like I on an acoustic guitar or piano. Always mostly guitar. Guitar's my main instrument for sure. I can barely play piano anymore. For a little bit there, I kind of could, but yeah. So I would write the song like on paper. That's another thing. So writing the music on paper is a whole different ball game than writing it on your phone or something. Ever since I went like completely digital, I mean it's way faster, 100%. You can just get stuff down quicker. You have the voice recorder to remember stuff. When you didn't have that, I think I heard Paul McCartney say something like that. Like before technology and stuff, like you had to remember your song. So if it wasn't like a great song or like a legitimately good song, you couldn't remember it. Um, I understand what they mean. It means you had to make smarter decisions, smarter songwriting decisions, and it had to be real. It couldn't be contrived at all. Whereas now, like I use a computer to record. I haven't written a song all the way through in a while. I write a couple here and there, but like I said, it I have to go deep for that, and it really bothers me. So when I record, what I do is I'll start with a guitar part, just like a verse guitar part. I'll double it. I'll pan it to both sides, which is incorrect, and then I'll make two more guitar tracks, and I will play a second guitar part over it. I'll put that at 45 left and 45 right. Pan it. Um, then, well, I might have started with a drum beat or something. If not, I'll put drums. Then I will put uh, bass. Then I'll do bass. Then I'll sing over it. And yeah, it's easier to find that melody when you have the music. So that's what I mean about finding the melody. So if you record, I just go like one line or even one lyric at a time sometimes. But sometimes it'll all come out and you'll know when it's right. You'll know when you get like the right words. And I'm not a person that worries about takes. I think that is like the biggest. I think it's, I don't know, with today's technology, it's just kind of unnecessary. it's not unnecessary. I'm just not the best like singer. Like if you're a great singer, maybe you want like a perfect take of a song all the way through. But I literally go like word by word, line by line. But or you can re-sing the whole thing at the end to get a good take for sure. Which I actually, when I record too much, I get kind of, not kind of, I get out of it to the point where like I can't even understand the melody until I wait. That's why I don't mix much either. But I'll save that for the next episode. The next episode I'll do recording and my mixing, which is not good. It's not the best mixing. I can mix decent, but I don't. I do like the bare minimum. It's because I want to keep pumping music out, and I think I can always come back and mix it later. So, and stuff I like is like lo-fi. So a lot of people like stuff like that, and it doesn't seem to affect it whatsoever. It even gives it like an atmosphere, like all its own. So yeah, feel hopeful. Don't give up. Stay focused. Take care of your health. Don't eat shit. You eat shit, it comes back out. You'll feel like shit. Staying away from caffeine. If I have caffeine, I can only do like, my head gets all like jumbled up. My thoughts get all compact, and I can't like process it, and I have to take a break. I just try to stay as clear as possible. No alcohol or anything. Um, yeah, it's just, you have to be clear to hear the sounds that you need and stuff like that. So, yeah. Take care. Until next time.